Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I have everything I need, but something still feels missing? Maybe you have a successful career, a loving family, a comfortable home, and yet, deep inside, there's a nagging feeling of emptiness. It's like you're living someone else's idea of happiness. This is not an uncommon experience. In fact, it's something Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, described in his work. Jung argued that modern society often creates the illusion of a perfect life, one that is externally validated by material success, status, and achievements. Yet, despite this external perfection, many people still feel disconnected from their true selves. Jung believed that this emptiness comes from something much deeper than just external circumstances. It is rooted in our unconscious mind, and more specifically, in what he called the false self. In this video, we will dive deep into why, despite achieving everything we are told should make us happy, we often feel like something is missing. We will explore how Carl Jung's ideas about the psyche, the self, and the unconscious mind can shed light on why we feel empty, even when our lives seem perfect. One of the primary reasons we feel empty, despite living what seems like a perfect life, is because we are living through what Carl Jung called the persona. The persona is the mask or social identity we wear in public. It's the version of ourselves we present to the world, the person we want others to see. It's the professional image, the role of the loving parent, the reliable friend, or even the spiritual seeker who always seems at peace. In a sense, the persona is how we fit into the expectations society has of us, whether it's in our career, our family life, or our social circles. However, Jung pointed out a critical issue. The persona is not the real self. It is a constructed identity shaped by external influences, social norms, and the desire for acceptance. The persona serves a useful function in society. It allows us to interact with the world, to fulfill our roles, and to gain the approval and validation of others. But here lies the problem. The persona is only a small fragment of who we are. It doesn't encompass the full spectrum of our being, and it often leaves out the parts of ourselves that are raw, vulnerable, or unappealing to others. Living too much in the persona means living inauthentically. When we identify too strongly with this social mask, we lose touch with the deeper, more authentic parts of ourselves. The parts that are not defined by external expectations or judgments. According to Jung, the self, with a capital S, is the true totality of who we are. It includes both our conscious identity and the unconscious aspects of our being, the parts of ourselves that we often ignore, repress, or even fear. The self is an integrated whole that embraces both light and dark aspects of our nature, including our vulnerabilities, desires, fears, and unresolved emotions. When we live only through the persona, we become fragmented. We disconnect from the deeper parts of ourselves, and this leads to an existential emptiness that no external achievement can fill. Success, fame, wealth, these can't provide the sense of wholeness we seek. While the persona helps us navigate the world, it remains a poor substitute for the true, authentic self. This disconnection between the persona and the self is often the source of the emptiness we feel. We might appear to have everything, a perfect career, a loving family, and social validation. But underneath it all, we are disconnected from our true nature. This internal void can lead to feelings of confusion, loneliness, and dissatisfaction despite outward success. Jung believed that healing begins when we recognize that the persona is not our true self and that we must start to integrate the unconscious aspects of who we are. Only by acknowledging the full spectrum of our being can we begin to feel truly whole and fulfilled. The journey to healing, according to Jung, requires us to move beyond the persona and embrace the totality of the self, which includes both our strengths and our vulnerabilities. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind plays a significant role in our feelings of emptiness. The unconscious is not just a place where forgotten memories or unresolved conflicts are stored. It also holds the parts of ourselves that we suppress or deny. These are the aspects of our personality that we reject, whether because they don't fit the socially acceptable mold or because they are too painful to confront. Jung called these suppressed elements the shadow. The shadow consists of all the traits, desires, and impulses that we push down because they don't align with the persona we present to the world. These might include negative emotions like anger, jealousy, fear, and insecurity, but also unacknowledged talents, desires, or needs. The problem is that ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. In fact, the more we repress these parts of ourselves, the more they influence us unconsciously. Our feelings of emptiness often stem from this unresolved inner conflict. The shadow is not only made up of negative traits, but also includes parts of ourselves that remain unexpressed or unfulfilled. We may feel empty because we aren't living in alignment with our unconscious desires, passions, or dreams. Jung suggested that we often suppress our true needs or desires because they don't fit the image we want to project to the world. We may focus on career success, social approval, or maintaining a certain image, but this can lead to a dissonance between the persona we show the world and ourself, our deeper, truer identity. As a result, even when we achieve all the external markers of success, we still feel a deep sense of emptiness. This inner void is often a sign that we are not living authentically or in alignment with our unconscious. Healing, according to Jung, begins when we confront the shadow and integrate it into our conscious life. Rather than repressing these unwanted aspects, we must bring them into awareness. By accepting the parts of ourselves that we've hidden, we can reclaim the fragmented pieces of our identity and begin the journey toward wholeness. Integration doesn't mean indulging in negative behaviors or letting the shadow dominate our lives, but rather acknowledging its existence and allowing it to inform and enrich our understanding of ourselves. The emptiness we experience is not just a result of external factors, but of the internal conflict caused by neglecting the shadow. When we deny parts of ourselves, we leave them in the unconscious, where they continue to affect us in ways we don't fully understand. By integrating these unconscious elements, we can align our outer life with our true inner self, moving beyond the persona to a more authentic existence. Only then can we begin to fill the emptiness that external success cannot satisfy. So, how do we move beyond the emptiness and reconnect with our true selves? Carl Jung believed that the key to overcoming the sense of disconnection is through the process of individuation. Individuation is the journey of becoming who we truly are, integrating the unconscious aspects of ourselves into our conscious life. It is the opposite of living solely through the persona. It's the process of reconnecting with the self, allowing the fullness of our inner being to express itself. Individuation is not an easy process. It requires us to face difficult truths, acknowledge the shadow, and accept the parts of ourselves we have long ignored or rejected. For many, this involves confronting repressed emotions, past trauma, or hidden desires. Jung emphasized that true fulfillment cannot come from ignoring these aspects of the self. To heal, we must bring the unconscious to the surface and accept all parts of our psyche, both the light and the dark. This process isn't about eliminating the shadow or the parts of ourselves that we reject. Rather, it's about integrating them. The shadow can contain unexpressed potentials, creativity, and strength. When we deny these aspects, we fragment our sense of self. But when we integrate them, we move toward wholeness. Individuation allows us to recognize that our weaknesses are often linked to hidden strengths, and that the parts of us we fear can become powerful sources of personal growth. Individuation also requires us to break free from the constraints of the persona. The persona is the mask we wear to fit into society's expectations, but it doesn't reflect the fullness of who we are. While it helps us navigate the world, the persona often keeps us from living authentically. Individuation invites us to shed this mask and embrace our true selves, beyond the roles and identities society expects us to play. The emptiness we feel often signifies that we are not living in alignment with our deeper nature. We are disconnected from our true self, and individuation is the path to rediscovering that connection. It is the journey back to the core of our authentic being, where we can find meaning and purpose. Meaning doesn't come from external validation or societal success. It comes from being true to who we are inside. Jung believed that individuation was essential for finding deeper fulfillment and understanding the meaning of our lives. By reconnecting with our unconscious, facing our shadow, and integrating the parts of ourselves we've neglected, we can begin to experience a sense of wholeness. This process allows us to live authentically, free from the limitations of the persona, and aligned with our true self. In summary, individuation is the path to reclaiming our full selves. It is the process of integrating the unconscious and conscious parts of the psyche, and it leads to greater self-awareness, authenticity, and fulfillment. It is through this journey that we can overcome the emptiness that arises when we live disconnected from our true selves. Only by embracing the full spectrum of who we are can we truly heal and find lasting meaning in life. The ultimate goal of Carl Jung's teachings is not simply to alleviate feelings of emptiness, but to experience life as a whole, integrated person. For Jung, healing and fulfillment come from embracing the self, the totality of who we are, including both the conscious and unconscious aspects of our being. The process of individuation is central to this journey, and it involves accepting all parts of ourselves, our light, our shadow, our desires, fears, strengths, and weaknesses, and integrating them into a coherent and authentic whole. To truly heal, we must stop fragmenting ourselves into different parts that are socially acceptable and those that are not. Society often imposes unrealistic standards of perfection, telling us what we should look like, how we should behave, and what constitutes a successful life. These expectations can leave us feeling like we are never enough, no matter what we achieve. We end up constantly striving for something we can never attain, perfection. And in this pursuit, we lose touch with the authenticity of our being. Jung's concept of the self teaches us that perfection is not the goal. In fact, the idea of perfection is an illusion that keeps us from embracing the fullness of our humanity. True healing begins when we stop chasing external ideals and start accepting and integrating all parts of ourselves. This includes not just the good aspects that society approves of, but also the bad, the hidden, the repressed, and the painful. The self encompasses everything we are, and when we embrace this totality, we begin to experience life as a richer, more complete version of ourselves. This process of embracing the self is not about becoming someone we are not. It is about accepting the person we already are, in all our complexity. We must stop denying the parts of ourselves that we deem unacceptable and instead acknowledge them, learn from them, and integrate them into our life. This does not mean giving in to negative behaviors or allowing them to dominate, but rather recognizing them as integral parts of our psychological makeup. By doing so, we develop a deeper understanding of our true nature and unlock the potential that lies hidden beneath the surface. One of the most significant benefits of embracing the self is that it allows us to transcend the illusions of perfection that society often imposes. Perfection is an external construct, a way to measure our worth based on what we can achieve or how we appear to others. When we live according to these standards, we can never feel truly whole because we are always chasing an ideal that is unattainable. However, when we embrace ourselves, we free ourselves from the tyranny of perfection. We stop looking outside ourselves for validation and start cultivating an internal sense of meaning and purpose. This shift from external validation to internal validation is a profound transformation. When we stop seeking approval from others, we begin to realize that the true source of meaning comes from within. This is not to say that we should isolate ourselves from the world or ignore the importance of relationships with others. Rather, it is about cultivating a sense of inner peace and purpose that is independent of external conditions. When we are internally validated, we no longer rely on the fleeting approval of others or the constant striving for external success to feel fulfilled. The path toward embracing the self and achieving individuation is not a quick or easy one. Jung believed that this journey is lifelong and requires continual self-exploration, introspection, and growth. There will be moments of doubt, resistance, and pain as we confront parts of ourselves that we have long ignored or denied. Yet, through this struggle, we come to understand ourselves more deeply, and with each step, we become more whole. As we move toward becoming fully integrated, authentic beings, we also deepen our connection to the world and to others. When we embrace the self, we no longer need to hide behind the mask of the persona, the social mask we wear to meet societal expectations. Instead, we show up in the world as our true selves unapologetically. This allows us to build more authentic and meaningful connections with others because we are no longer projecting a false version of ourselves. We attract relationships that are based on mutual understanding, respect, and authenticity, which in turn leads to deeper, more fulfilling interactions. Moreover, embracing our wholeness also allows us to contribute more fully to the world. When we recognize and integrate our unique talents, strengths, and perspectives, we can share them with others in a way that is genuine and impactful. We no longer feel the need to conform to societal expectations, but instead, we can act in alignment with our true purpose and passions. This brings a sense of fulfillment, not just to our personal lives, but also to the world around us. Jung's teachings on the self and individuation invite us to live more authentically. They teach us that true fulfillment does not come from external achievements or societal approval, but from within. By accepting and integrating all parts of ourselves, we break free from the illusion of perfection and discover a deeper, more meaningful life. We move from a place of emptiness to a place of wholeness, where we no longer feel disconnected from ourselves or the world around us. Healing, according to Jung, is not a destination. It is a process. It is a journey that requires us to continually face ourselves, to confront the parts of us we've hidden, and to embrace the totality of our being. It is through this process that we find peace, authenticity, and a deeper connection to the world and to others. Only by embracing the self can we truly heal the emptiness that so many of us experience. And in doing so, we unlock the fullest potential of who we are meant to be. To summarize, the feeling of emptiness, even in the presence of external perfection, is often the result of a disconnection between our persona and our true self. Carl Jung teaches us that true healing doesn't come from achieving more external success or accumulating more accomplishments. Rather, it arises from the deep and transformative process of self-integration, facing our shadow, listening to our unconscious mind, and embarking on the path of individuation. Only when we embrace our full, authentic selves can we begin to fill the emptiness and start living a truly fulfilling life. If you're feeling empty despite having a perfect life, it's a sign to go deeper within. It's a call to listen to the parts of you that have been repressed or ignored, to start the journey toward integrating all aspects of who you are. The path to true fulfillment isn't found outside of us, it's found within. Will you take the first step toward reconnecting with your true self? If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like it, comment below with your thoughts or experiences, and share it with someone who may need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insightful content on personal growth and self-discovery. Let's take this journey together, step by step.